Breaking news from around your world on this Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Russian officials on Tuesday accused the United States of stoking tensions with the testing of a ground-launched cruise missile, a weapon previously banned under a nuclear arms treaty that was abandoned this month after 31 years. The U.S. military conducted the test Monday from San Nicolas Island, California, using a ground mobile launcher to hit a target more than 310 miles away. The missile had a conventional warhead. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergey Ryabkov called the testing regrettable. He said the United States has evidently set the course for fomenting military tensions. Russian President Vladimir Putin reiterated Monday that Russia has a moratorium on developing land-based intermediate-range systems unless the United States deploys such a system. The Kremlin leader said 3 days after the U.S. withdrawal, all our actions will be of a reactive tit-for-tat nature. The treaty, which was agreed to in late 1987 and took effect in mid-1988, banned all land-based cruise missiles with a range between 310 miles and 3,417 miles. Italy's prime minister announced his resignation Tuesday as he made a blistering attack on his own interior minister, Matteo Salvini, accusing him of sinking the ruling coalition and endangering the economy for personal and political gain. Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte, addressing the parliament after it was recalled from its summer recess to decide the future of the 14-month-old government, accused League Party chief Salvini of seeking to cash in on his rising popularity. With a stone-faced Salvini sitting by his side, Conte told a packed Senate his decisions pose serious risk for this country. He described the actions of Salvini, who declared the coalition unworkable 12 days ago and called for snap elections, as recklessness liable to tip the country into a spiral of political uncertainty and financial instability. Financial markets rallied on Conte's resignation, seemingly hopeful that snap polls could be avoided amid reports the ruling Five-Star Movement might seek an alliance with the center-left opposition Democratic Party. Twitter and Facebook said that China had used their social media platforms to spread disinformation against Hong Kong pro-democracy protesters. Twitter suspended 936 accounts suspected of links to the effort to sow political discord in Hong Kong, including undermining the legitimacy and political protest movement on the ground. Twitter said in a blog post that it had evidence pointing to a coordinated state-backed effort, and it announced it would no longer accept advertising from state-controlled news outlets. Facebook said later it was acting on a tip from Twitter. The move came following the latest mass protest last weekend in which more than 1 million people protested against the Chinese government, which regained control of the former British colony in 1997. Sunday's peaceful march was the 11th week of what have often been violent demonstrations. Meanwhile, Hong Kong leader Carrie Lam said Tuesday she hoped the peaceful weekend anti-government protest was the start of efforts to restore calm and that talks with nonviolent protesters would provide a way out for the Chinese-ruled city. Anger erupted in June over a now-suspended bill that would allow criminal suspects in the former British colony to be extradited to mainland China for trial. The protests have prompted sharp reactions from Beijing, which has accused foreign countries, including the United States, of fomenting unrest in the territory. China has also sent clear warning that forceful intervention is possible, with paramilitary forces holding drills in neighboring Shenzhen. The protests are exacting a toll on the city's economy and tourism, with the Asian financial hub on the verge of its first recession in a decade. China could overwhelm the U.S. military in Asia within hours, according to a new study by the United States Study Center, a think tank at the University of Sydney in Australia. According to the report, China has deployed a formidable array of precision missiles and other counter-intervention systems to undercut America's military primacy. It went on to say China's ability to overwhelm U.S. bases in the region quickly could leave America struggling to defend allies, leaving its defense strategy in the region in the throes of an unprecedented crisis. China's foreign ministry said it had not seen the think tank's report, but emphasized that its national defense policy is defensive in nature. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the United States has not returned to the negotiation table with North Korea as quickly as it had hoped, but he added that Washington knew there would be bumps on the road in the denuclearization talks. Speaking in an interview with CBS News Tuesday, Pompeo said Washington was concerned about North Korea's firing of short-range missiles. The latest of the missile tests by North Korea was carried out on Friday as Pyongyang fired 2 more short-range projectiles into the sea off its coast. The launches have complicated attempts to restart talks between U.S. and North Korean negotiators over the future of Pyongyang's nuclear weapons and ballistic missile programs. Those denuclearization talks had been stalled despite a commitment to revive them that was made at a June 30th meeting between President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. He added that Stephen Biegun, U.S. Special Envoy for North Korea, was in the region on Tuesday and Wednesday, but did not elaborate on details of the trip. The State Department said last week that Biegun would travel to Japan and Seoul this week. Attorney General William Barr said he was replacing the acting head of the Bureau of Prisons, Hugh Hurwitz, in the wake of the suicide of Jeffrey Epstein at a federal jail in Manhattan earlier this month. Barr had promised accountability for what he called serious irregularities at the facility. He said he was angry and appalled when he learned about the suicide and the failure of guards to check on Epstein, who had recently been taken off suicide watch in the hours before he was found dead. Guards are supposed to check on detainees every 30 minutes in the special housing unit Epstein was in. Hurwitz will return to his former assistant director position, and Dr. Kathleen Hawk Sawyer, a former leader of the Bureau, will take charge. New York City Police Commissioner James O'Neill on Monday fired Daniel Pantaleo for violating department policy by putting Eric Garner in a prohibited chokehold in 2014. Garner had an asthma attack and died. His last words, "I can't breathe," became a refrain repeated in the Black Lives Matter movement. O'Neill said it was clear Daniel Pantaleo can no longer serve as a New York City police officer. The decision came 2 weeks after a police administrative judge concluded that Pantaleo had violated the policy and recommended his termination. The 2014 incident was captured on video. Garner's family and civil rights activists had long called for Pantaleo to be kicked off the force. Pantaleo's lawyer said his client would file a lawsuit to try and get reinstated. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said that the Trump administration would extend authorization for limited sales to Chinese technology giant Huawei for another 3 months. The limited delay was designed to help rural U.S. internet and wireless providers that use Huawei gear, giving them support for existing equipment while they prepare for the ban on doing business with Huawei. The Trump administration blacklisted the Chinese telecom firm in May over concerns that its equipment could be used by China for spying. An initial temporary reprieve would have expired Monday. Along with the extension, Ross announced the U.S. was adding another 46 Huawei affiliates to the blacklist. Huawei denies it poses a security risk and said the extension does not change the fact that Huawei has been treated unjustly. Texas authorities say more than 20 local governments are facing a coordinated ransomware attack. The Texas Department of Information Resources said in a statement that it believes a single source is behind all 23 of the attacks. It didn't name the affected agencies or provide details about the attackers' demands. Cities around the country have been targeted by ransomware attacks in recent years, including Atlanta and Baltimore, where city officials refused a demand for $76,000 in Bitcoin to restore access to its computer network. Texas officials have not said whether any of the affected agencies have paid a ransom. The department's statement says the FBI and other federal agencies are involved. Texas has now joined several other states that have been targeted by recent ransomware attacks, including Maryland, Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, and Kentucky, as well as Europe. Some of the municipalities have opted to pay the ransom, more than a combined $1 million, in an effort to retrieve key files. And that's your update for this Tuesday, August 20th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for putting this podcast over the 500,000 download mark. I thank you for your support and for listening. I hope you have a wonderful day.